Single mom waitress brought her twins to work. One runs to hug the billionaire at the table, calling him daddy. Part 1. Some of you are looking at her and seeing a waitress, someone who doesn't belong in this room. You're right. She doesn't belong here. Reese Holloway stood in the crowd, tears streaming down her face. Her midnight blue dress suddenly felt like a costume. Every eye in the room burned into her skin. This world of pretense and judgment, Cole continued, his gray eyes blazing. She's better than this. She's better than all of us. A woman in diamonds whispered behind a manicured hand. A man in a tuxedo shook his head slowly. Across the room, Paige Drummond smiled with cold triumph. For 5 years, Cole's voice cracked with emotion. Reese raised our daughters alone. 2 jobs, no help, no complaints. She never asked me for a single thing. And you want to call her a gold digger? Reese's hands trembled. This was it. The moment her carefully hidden life exploded into public view. The moment everything changed. But how did a single mother waitress and a billionaire real estate developer end up in this moment? How did their 2 worlds collide in a way that would change 3 lives forever? It started 14 days earlier, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, in a diner that smelled like coffee and second chances. And it started with one word: Daddy. The bell above the door of Ruby's diner chimed at exactly 11:47 in the morning. Reese Holloway was wiping down table 6 when she heard it. That small brass bell that had marked the rhythm of her days for 3 years. Chime. Order. Serve. Clean. Repeat. But something made her look up. Later she would wonder if some part of her already knew, if her body recognized him before her mind caught up. Because the cloth in her hand stopped moving. Her breath caught in her throat, and the entire world tilted sideways. Cole Fitzgerald stood in the doorway. 6 years. It had been 6 years since Dallas. 6 years since the hotel basement and the tornado sirens and the night that changed everything. 6 years since she'd woken up alone in a hotel room with no note and no way to find the man who'd made her believe, just for a few hours, that she deserved something good. He looked different. Older. His dark hair was shorter, more controlled. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. But his eyes were the same. Storm gray. Serious. The kind of eyes that saw too much. Reese's hands started shaking. She pressed the damp cloth against the formica table, trying to ground herself. He hadn't seen her yet. He was scanning the room, probably looking for a table. She could hide in the back. She could send Becca to take his order. She could pretend this wasn't happening. Mommy, can we have more crayons? The small voice came from the corner booth. Reese's heart stopped completely. No. Oh God, no. She'd brought Harper and Piper to work today because their usual daycare was closed for a staff training day. They'd promised to be quiet, to stay in the back booth, to color and not cause trouble. She'd had no choice. Rent was due in 4 days and she couldn't afford to miss a shift. The twins were supposed to be invisible. But Harper Elizabeth Holloway had never been invisible a day in her 5-year-old life. Reese turned toward the booth just in time to see Harper stand up on the vinyl seat. Her daughter's blonde ponytail bounced as she pointed across the diner with one small finger. Her gray eyes went wide with recognition and wonder. Harper's mouth opened. Time stretched like taffy. Reese tried to move, tried to speak, tried to do anything. Too late. Daddy! The word rang out across Ruby's diner, like a bell, like a gunshot, like the end of everything Reese had carefully built. Harper scrambled down from the booth. Her light-up sneakers flashed pink and purple across the black and white checkered floor. She was running, actually running, weaving between tables with the fearless certainty of a child who'd just found exactly what she'd been looking for. Reese's feet finally unlocked. She rushed forward, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Harper, no. Baby, no. But Harper was fast. She crashed into Cole Fitzgerald's legs and wrapped her small arms around his knees like she'd known him forever, like she had every right to claim him. The entire diner went silent. Old Mr. Patterson stopped mid-bite, his fork of scrambled eggs suspended in air. The couple at table 3 stared openly. Behind the counter, Becca's mouth fell open, the coffee pot in her hand tilting dangerously. Cole looked down at the child attached to his leg. Confusion crossed his face, then shock. His gray eyes traveled from Harper's upturned face to the back booth where Piper sat frozen, clutching her coloring book. Then his gaze found Reese. Recognition hit him like lightning. His lips parted. His eyes widened. The color drained from his face. You. The word came out as barely a whisper, but Reese heard it across the distance between them. She heard everything in that single syllable. Shock. Disbelief. The weight of 6 years collapsing into one impossible moment. Reese reached them. She knelt down and carefully pried Harper's arms from around Cole's legs. Her daughter felt warm and solid against her chest. Real. Her baby. Her whole world. "I'm so sorry," Reese said, forcing her voice to work. Her waitress voice. Professional. Detached. Like this man was a stranger. "Sir, I'm so sorry." She doesn't do that. I don't know why she did that. But she did know why. Harper had asked about her father every day for the past year. Where is he? What does he look like? Why doesn't he come see us? And Reese, in a moment of exhausted honesty, had shown her daughter one photo. The only photo she had. A blurry picture from the hotel in Dallas. Cole in the background, laughing at something someone said. His gray eyes crinkled at the corners. His face half turned toward the camera. "You said my daddy has gray eyes just like mine," Harper had said, studying the photo with serious concentration. "That's how I'll know him." And now, here he was. Gray eyes, dark hair, standing in Ruby's diner like a ghost made flesh. Cole didn't speak. He just stared at Harper, then back at Piper in the booth. Reese could see him doing the math. 2 identical little girls, the same age, both with his eyes, his dark hair, his serious, thoughtful expression on Piper's face, his stubborn chin on Harper's. The math was simple, brutal, obvious. Reese scooped Harper into her arms and held her tight. The room was spinning. Every customer was watching. She could feel their curiosity like a physical weight. "Baby, you can't just run up to people," Reese whispered urgently into Harper's ear. "We talked about this." "But Mommy," Harper's voice was loud with innocent confusion. "You said my daddy has gray eyes just like mine. And you showed me his picture." "That's him, Harper." Reese's voice came out sharp, desperate. She turned back to Cole and forced herself to meet his eyes. It was a mistake looking directly at him, because she saw everything there. The shock, the questions, the beginning of understanding that was going to unravel everything. "I'm very sorry for the interruption," she said, trying again. Her professional voice was cracking. "Can I get you in?" But Cole wasn't listening. His eyes were locked on the back booth where Piper sat watching the scene with wide, solemn eyes. Twin girls. Identical. 5 years old, if he had to guess. Born 9 months after a tornado tore through Dallas and sent 2 strangers into a basement together. "How old are they?" Cole's voice was rough, raw. Reese's throat closed. She couldn't answer. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't do anything but stand there holding Harper while her carefully constructed world fell apart. "I need to get back to work," she finally managed. "Please excuse us." She turned and hurried back to the booth. Her legs felt like water. She deposited Harper next to Piper and leaned down, her face inches from theirs. Both girls stared up at her with those gray eyes. Cole's eyes. The evidence of a secret she'd tried so hard to protect. "You two stay right here," Reese said, her voice shaking. "Do not move. Do you understand me?" Both girls nodded slowly. They looked scared now. They'd never heard Mommy sound like this before. Reese straightened and forced herself to turn around. Cole was still standing by the door. He hadn't moved. Hadn't sat down. The other customers were starting to whisper now. Low murmurs that sounded like wasps. Reese walked back to him on unsteady legs. She kept her voice low. "I'll get you a table. What can I get you to drink? We need to talk. I'm working." "Reese." He said her name like a prayer, like an accusation. "Coffee or water?" His jaw tightened. She watched the muscle jump beneath his skin. He was angry, or confused, or both. She couldn't tell anymore. 6 years had turned him into a stranger wearing a familiar face. "Coffee. Black." She nodded and walked away before he could say anything else. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the coffee pot. Behind the counter, Becca grabbed her arm. "Reese. Oh my God. Is that him? Not now. Is that the guy from Dallas? The tornado guy? Becca, please. Not now." Reese poured the coffee. The liquid sloshed against the sides of the mug. She carried it to the corner table where Cole had finally sat down. He was staring at Harper and Piper. They were peeking at him over the back of their booth, their small faces barely visible. Reese set down the mug. Her hand knocked against the saucer. The coffee spilled slightly. She grabbed a napkin and dabbed at it, focusing on the simple task, because if she looked at Cole's face she was going to fall apart. "How old are they?" Cole asked again. 5. "When's their birthday?" Reese's throat felt like sandpaper. "November 14th. Cole closed his eyes. She watched him count backward. May. The tornado was in May. 6 years ago this coming May. 9 months before November. The math was perfect. Damning. When he opened his eyes again, they were dark as storm clouds. "Why didn't you tell me?" The question hung between them. Reese felt 6 years of exhaustion and fear and loneliness surge up in her chest. "I didn't have your number. I didn't have your last name. I had Cole from Austin and nothing else." "You could have." "Could have what?" Her voice came out sharper than she intended. "Put an ad in the paper? You left the next morning. I woke up and you were gone. I had a flight. I left you a note. I never got a note." They stared at each other across the table. 6 years of missed connections and misunderstandings stretched between them like a canyon neither of them knew how to cross. Cole ran a hand through his hair. The gesture was familiar. She remembered it from that night, when he was thinking hard about something, when he was trying to solve a problem. "Are they mine?" The question was quiet, almost afraid. Reese wanted to lie. She wanted to tell him to leave and forget he'd ever walked into Ruby's diner. She wanted to protect her daughters from this man with his expensive suit and his complicated life. But she looked at Harper and Piper, and she couldn't. Yes, the word was barely a whisper, but it hit like a bomb. Cole sat back in his chair. His hands gripped the edge of the table. She saw them shaking. "I want a DNA test." Of course he did. Rich men didn't take chances. They dealt in proof and contracts and certainty. They didn't take the word of a waitress they'd spent one night with 6 years ago. "Fine," Reese said, "but then you leave us alone." "Like hell I will. You can't just—" "They're my daughters." Cole's voice was low but fierce. "If that test comes back positive, everything changes." "Nothing changes," Reese shot back. "We've been fine without you. We don't need—" "Don't." He held up a hand. "Don't tell me you don't need help. Look at this place, Reese." His eyes swept over the diner. The cracked vinyl booths, the outdated fixtures. Then they came back to her worn sneakers and her stained apron and the exhaustion she couldn't quite hide anymore. "You're working double shifts with 2 kids in a diner booth. Don't tell me you're fine." Shame and fury burned through Reese in equal measure. How dare he walk in here after 6 years and judge her life, judge the choices she'd had to make alone. "Get out, Reese. Get out." Cole stood slowly. He pulled out his wallet. He left a $100 bill on the table for a coffee he hadn't touched. "My lawyer will contact you tomorrow," he said quietly. "Please, just let me do this right." Then he walked out. The bell chimed softly behind him. The sound felt like the closing of a door, or the opening of one. Reese couldn't tell which. She stood alone in the middle of the diner, feeling the weight of every eye on her. Mr. Patterson went back to his eggs. The couple at table 3 whispered furiously to each other. Becca was staring from behind the counter with an expression of shock and sympathy. Reese took a shaky breath. She pocketed the $100 bill and cleared the untouched coffee. Then she went back to the booth where her daughters sat quietly. They looked scared, confused, too young to understand what had just happened but old enough to know it was big. "Is that man really our daddy?" Piper asked. Her voice was so quiet Reese almost didn't hear it. Piper was the thoughtful one, the observer. Where Harper rushed in, Piper held back and watched and processed. Now she was watching her mother with those serious gray eyes and waiting for the truth. Reese slid into the booth and pulled both girls close. They smelled like crayons and the apple juice they'd had with lunch. They felt small and warm and perfect. Her whole world in 2 small bodies. "I don't know, baby," Reese whispered. "I just don't know." But she did know, and that was the problem. The rest of Reese's shift passed in a blur. She took orders and served food and refilled coffee cups on autopilot. Her mind was 6 years away, 6 years back, in a hotel basement in Dallas while the world outside tore itself apart. She'd been 22. young and stupid, and so tired of being alone. She'd aged out of foster care at 18, with nothing but a high school diploma and a burning determination to be something more than a statistic. She'd worked 3 jobs to save enough for community college. She'd been studying hospitality management. She'd thought maybe she could manage a hotel someday, have a real career, build something stable. The National Hospitality Conference had been her first professional event. She'd gotten there on a scholarship meant for students from disadvantaged backgrounds. She'd felt like an imposter in her target dress among all the polished professionals. She'd been ready to leave early. Then the tornado sirens went off. The hotel staff had rushed everyone to the basement. 200 strangers crammed into a concrete space meant for storage. The lights had flickered. The building had groaned. Everyone had been scared. Reese had ended up pressed against a wall next to a man in a business suit. He'd looked as uncomfortable as she felt, trapped in close quarters with strangers while the world outside tried to kill them. She'd expected him to ignore her. Rich men in expensive suits didn't talk to girls in target dresses. But then the lights had gone out completely. Emergency lighting had kicked in, casting everything in dim red. And in that crimson darkness, he'd spoken. "Are you okay?" 3 words. That's all it took. 3 words in a voice that sounded genuinely concerned, like he actually cared about the answer. "I'm fine," she'd said. "Are you?" "Not really. I hate small spaces." The admission had surprised her. He didn't seem like the type to admit weakness. But there in the dark, pressed shoulder to shoulder, with nothing to do but wait, he'd been honest. And that honesty had opened something in her. They'd talked for 4 hours while the tornado raged above. They'd talked about everything. His difficult relationship with his father, her years in foster care, his fear that he was building an empire but missing a life, her dream of creating stability for herself after years of chaos. They'd talked until the all-clear sounded and the emergency was over. Then they'd looked at each other in the normal light of the hotel lobby, really looked at each other for the first time, and something had passed between them, something electric and inevitable. "I have a room upstairs," he'd said. "If you want to keep talking." They both knew it wasn't just talking, but the invitation had been gentle. A question, not a demand. She could have said no. She'd said yes. That night had been the first time in Reese's life she'd felt truly seen, not as a foster kid, not as a struggling student, not as someone to be pitied or dismissed, just as herself. Cole had touched her like she mattered, like she was precious, like she deserved gentleness. In the morning, she'd woken up alone. The bed next to her was cold. There was no note. She'd checked the bathroom, the desk, the nightstand. Nothing. He'd left his contact information with the front desk, or so she thought. But when she'd asked, they'd said no one had left anything for her. She'd only known his first name. Cole. He'd mentioned Austin, but Austin was a big city. She'd had no way to find him. 2 weeks later, she'd missed her period. 2 weeks after that, an ultrasound had shown 2 heartbeats. She'd tried to find him then. She'd searched social media for Cole Austin, Texas, Cole Real Estate Austin. Nothing. Or rather, too much. Hundreds of Coles. Without a last name or a photo that showed his full face, she'd had no way to narrow it down. She'd thought about hiring a private investigator, but she was 22 and pregnant with twins and barely able to afford groceries. Private investigators cost money she didn't have, so she'd made the choice to do it alone, to build a life for her babies by herself. It hadn't been noble or brave. It had just been the only option she could see. Now, 6 years later, that choice had exploded in her face. Reese finished her shift at 6. She helped Becca close down the front while the dinner crew took over. Harper and Piper were getting fussy. They'd been good all day, but kids could only sit still for so long. "Go," Becca said, waving her toward the door. "Get them home." "And Reese?" "Call me later. We need to talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about." "Girl." Becca put a hand on her hip. "A billionaire just found out he has secret twins. There is everything to talk about." "Billionaire? You don't know." Becca pulled out her phone and typed quickly. She turned the screen toward Reese. It was a news article from Austin Business Journal. The headline read, "Cole Fitzgerald closes historic downtown development deal." There was a photo of Cole in a tuxedo at some charity event. He was shaking hands with the mayor. Reese's vision went blurry around the edges. "That's him?" Becca's eyes were huge. "Reese, that's Cole Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald Development. He owns like half of downtown Austin. I need to go." Reese grabbed the twins and got them into her car. The sedan was 12 years old and made concerning noises when she accelerated too fast, but it ran. That was enough. Everything in Reese's life was held together with enough. Enough money, enough time, enough energy. She lived in a constant state of barely enough. The drive to their apartment took 15 minutes. They lived in South Austin, in a converted garage studio behind a main house. It was small. One main room with a kitchenette in the corner. A tiny bathroom. 2 twin beds pushed against one wall for the girls. A futon against the other wall for Reese. $750 a month, including utilities. It was all she could afford. She got the girls inside and started their evening routine. Bath time, pajamas, dinner. She made macaroni and cheese from a box and cut up apple slices. The girls ate at their small folding table while Reese cleaned up. "Mommy?" Harper's voice was small. "Yes, baby." "Why did that man leave?" Reese's hands stilled in the dishwater. She turned around. Both girls were watching her with identical expressions of confusion. "I don't know, sweetheart. Was he really our daddy?" Piper asked. The question hung in the small space. Reese dried her hands on a towel and sat down at the table with them. She needed to be honest. As honest as she could be with 5-year-olds. "I think so, yes." "Then why doesn't he live with us?" Out of the mouths of babes. How did you explain to kindergartners that their father hadn't known they existed? That their mother had been a one-night mistake he'd walked away from? That the world was more complicated than their small, safe routine suggested? "Sometimes grown-ups make things complicated," Reese said carefully. "But I want you to know something. I love you both more than anything in the whole world. And nothing is going to change that." Okay, they said in unison. But Harper wasn't done. "Will we see him again?" "I don't know. I hope we do," Harper said. "I liked his eyes. They look like Piper's." After dinner, Reese got the girls ready for bed. She read them their favorite story about a bear who couldn't sleep. Harper fell asleep halfway through. Piper lasted until the end, then curled up next to her sister. Reese turned out the light and stood in the doorway for a long moment. She watched them sleep in the dim glow of their nightlight. Their faces were peaceful, innocent. They had no idea their world was about to change. Her phone rang at 9:30. She was sitting on the futon, staring at the wall, trying not to think about anything. The number was local but unfamiliar. "Hello? Is this Reese Holloway?" "Yes, my name is David Chen. I'm an attorney representing Cole Fitzgerald. He's asked me to contact you regarding paternity testing for your daughters." Reese's stomach dropped. That was fast. It had been less than 12 hours since Cole walked out of the diner. "I see. Mr. Fitzgerald would like to arrange for a DNA test as soon as possible. We can have a nurse come to your home at your convenience. The test is non-invasive, just a cheek swab. Results typically take 7 to 10 business days. Mr. Fitzgerald will cover all costs." "And then what?" Reese asked. Her voice sounded hollow. "Then we'll have confirmation one way or another, and we can discuss next steps." Next steps, like her daughters were a business deal to be negotiated. "Fine," Reese said. "Send the nurse. How is Thursday afternoon?" "Around 2. "That's fine." The lawyer gave her a few more details. Then the call ended. Reese sat holding the phone, staring at nothing. She'd agreed to this at the diner. She'd told Cole fine, do the test. But now it felt real. In a few days, someone would come to her home and swab her daughters' mouths and send the results to a lab, and then it would be official. Cole Fitzgerald would be confirmed as the father of her children. And then what? Men like Cole didn't do anything halfway. He had money and lawyers and resources. If he wanted custody, he could fight for it. If he wanted to take her girls to his world of penthouses and private schools, what could she do to stop him? Reese pulled her knees to her chest. She was alone in the dim apartment, trying not to cry, trying not to let the fear consume her. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "It's Cole. I got your number from the diner's employment records. I'm sorry for how today went." "Can we talk?" Reese stared at the message. She should delete it. Block the number. Protect herself and her girls from whatever came next. Instead, she typed back, "What's there to talk about?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Everything. Please. I'm not trying to hurt you. I just found out I might have daughters. I need to know if they're mine. And if they are, I need to know them. Reese closed her eyes. The reasonable part of her brain knew he had a right to ask, but the terrified mother part of her wanted to run. Pack up the girls tonight and drive to Houston where her half-sister lived. Disappear before this got more complicated. But she was tired of running. She'd been running her whole life. From foster homes. From poverty. From her past. Maybe it was time to stand still and face what came. Okay, she typed. After the test. After we know for sure. Then we can talk. Thank you. She didn't respond. She turned off her phone and sat in the dark, listening to her daughters breathe in their sleep. Thursday came too fast. Reese had Wednesday off, so she spent the day cleaning the already clean apartment. She scrubbed the kitchenette counter. She organized the girls' toys into bins. She folded their clothes and refolded them. Anything to keep her hands busy and her mind occupied. Harper and Piper sensed her anxiety. They were quieter than usual, more careful. Kids always knew when something was wrong, even when you tried to hide it. At 1:55 on Thursday, there was a knock on the door. Reese opened it to find a woman in blue medical scrubs holding a small case. She had kind eyes and a warm smile. Reese Holloway, I'm Nora from Genetron Labs. Mr. Fitzgerald's office arranged for me to come. Yes, come in. Nora stepped into the small space. She didn't react to the size or the modest furnishings. She just smiled at the twins, who were watching from their beds with wide eyes. Hello there. You must be Harper and Piper. How did you know our names? Harper asked. Your mommy told me. I'm here to do a very quick test. It won't hurt at all. It's like brushing the inside of your cheek with a soft cotton tip. She opened her case and pulled out paperwork. Reese signed the consent forms with shaking hands. She was making this official, making it real. There was no going back after this. Okay, who wants to go first? Me, Harper said immediately. Nora swabbed the inside of Harper's cheek quickly and efficiently. Harper giggled. That tickles. See? All done. You're very brave. Piper went next. She was more hesitant, but she sat still and let Nora complete the test. Then it was over. Nora sealed the swabs in tubes and labeled them carefully. Results will be ready in 7 to 10 business days. Both you and Mr. Fitzgerald will receive copies by secure mail. Thank you, Reese managed. After Nora left, Reese sat on the edge of the futon and stared at the closed door. It was done. In a week or so, she'd have official confirmation of what she already knew. Cole Fitzgerald was the father of her children, and then her carefully built life would change forever. The days crawled by. Reese went to work. She took care of the girls. She tried to act normal, but everything felt like she was waiting for the other shoe to drop. On day 5, Cole called. Hello, Reese. It's Cole. Like she wouldn't recognize his voice. Hi. The nurse confirmed the samples were collected. Yes. There was a pause. She could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. I know we said we'd wait for the results, but I was wondering if I could see them, the girls, before we know for sure. No. Why? Because it'll confuse them. Children are more adaptable than we think, Cole said. And if they are mine, I've already missed 5 years. I don't want to miss another day. And if they're not yours? Reese shot back, even though she knew the argument was hollow. Then I'll leave, and you'll never hear from me again. But either way, I'd like to meet them. As people, not through a car window or across a diner. Reese closed her eyes. She was standing in the small bathroom with the door closed so the girls wouldn't hear. The room was barely big enough for her and the phone conversation. It's not fair to them, she said. You can't just walk into their lives and then maybe walk out again. I'm not planning to walk out. You don't know what you're planning. You found out they might exist 5 days ago. Exactly, Cole said. His voice grew more intense. 5 days ago, I found out I might be a father. Do you have any idea what that's like? I can't think about anything else. I can't sleep. All I can see is those 2 little girls with my eyes looking at me like they knew me. Please, Reese, just let me take you all to the park. Somewhere public. You'll be there the whole time. I just want to see them. Talk to them. Please. The word, please, broke something in her. Rich men like Cole Fitzgerald probably didn't say please very often. didn't beg for things. But she heard it in his voice, genuine pleading, and beneath that, something that sounded like the Cole she'd met 6 years ago, the one who'd been honest in the dark. Which park? She heard herself whisper. Zilker, Saturday morning at 10. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you, Reese. Thank you so much. The call ended. Reese stood in the tiny bathroom, staring at herself in the mirror above the sink. She looked tired, scared, but beneath that, she saw something else, a tiny flicker of something that might have been hope. Maybe this didn't have to be a disaster. Maybe Cole really did just want to know his daughters. Maybe he wasn't going to try to take them away. Or maybe she was being naive. Maybe she was about to make the biggest mistake of her life. Saturday morning dawned clear and warm. Peak Austin spring weather. Reese dressed the twins in matching purple sundresses. Not because she was trying to make them look cute for Cole, but because those were the clean outfits and purple was their favorite color. You're taking us to the park? Harper asked, bouncing with excitement. Yes, baby. Is the man with the gray eyes coming? Reese hesitated. She decided to be honest with them. Age-appropriately honest. Yes, his name is Cole. He's a friend of Mommy's. He wants to meet you. Is he our daddy? Piper asked quietly. We're trying to find out. So today we're just going to play at the park and let you two get to know him. Okay? Okay. They arrived at Zilker Park at 9:55. Reese parked in the big lot near the playground. She could see Cole already there. He was standing by a bench holding a bag from a toy store. He was wearing jeans and a gray t-shirt, no suit. He looked younger this way, less intimidating, almost like the man from the hotel basement. That's him, Harper said, pointing out the window. Remember your manners, Reese said. We don't run up to people. We stay with Mommy. They got out of the car. Reese held both girls' hands as they walked across the grass. Her heart was pounding. This was surreal, taking her daughters to meet their father for the first time. Fathers were supposed to be there from the beginning, at births and first steps and birthday parties, not appearing out of nowhere when the kids were already 5. Cole saw them coming. He straightened. She watched nervousness cross his face. Good. He should be nervous. This wasn't a business meeting. This was her children. They stopped a few feet apart. The morning sun filtered through the oak trees, making patterns of light and shadow on the grass. Somewhere nearby, other families were playing. Normal families. Families that made sense. Hi, Cole said. He was looking at the girls like they were the most fascinating thing he'd ever seen. Say hello, Reese prompted gently. Hello, Piper whispered. Hi, I'm Harper. Are you Cole? I am. It's very nice to meet you both. He knelt down so he was at their eye level. The gesture was good. Reese noticed that. Not talking down to them. Making himself smaller, less intimidating. Your mom said you like parks, Cole continued. I brought something we could play with if that's okay with you. He reached into the bag and pulled out 2 small kites. They were simple diamond shapes. One was rainbow-colored. One was covered in butterflies. Harper's eyes lit up. Kites. I've never flown a kite. Would you like to try? Both girls looked at Reese for permission. She nodded. Yes, please, they said in unison. Cole stood and led them to the open field area. Reese followed, keeping close. She watched him show the girls how to hold the strings, how to run to get the kite airborne, how to let out line slowly. Harper's kite went up first. It wobbled dangerously, then caught a gust of wind and soared. Harper squealed with delight and ran in circles, watching the rainbow colors dance above her. Piper's kite was more stubborn. It kept nosediving into the grass. Cole was endlessly patient. He showed her how to adjust the angle, how to feel for the wind. On the 4th try, the butterfly kite lifted and stayed up. I did it, Piper said softly. Her face glowed with pride. You did. You're a natural. They flew kites for 30 minutes. Cole ran with Harper when she wanted to see how high the rainbow kite could go. He stood with Piper and pointed out shapes in the clouds while her butterfly kite drifted peacefully overhead. Reese sat on a bench and watched. She watched Cole's face when Harper laughed, the way his whole expression softened, the way he listened carefully when Piper explained her theory about what clouds were made of. He wasn't checking his phone. He wasn't distracted. He was completely present. It was unsettling. And it was exactly what she'd always wanted for her daughters. someone who paid attention, someone who showed up. After the kites, they walked to the playground. Cole pushed both girls on the swings. He helped Harper across the monkey bars when she wanted to try and couldn't quite reach. He sat in the sand with Piper and helped her build an elaborate castle. Around 11, an ice cream cart came by. Cole looked at Reese for permission. "May I?" She hesitated. She didn't want him buying things for them. Didn't want them to think this was about money or gifts, but it was just ice cream. And the day was warm, and the girls were staring at the cart with hopeful eyes. "Okay," she said. Cole bought 4 small cups of vanilla. He handed them out, including one for Reese. She took it automatically, then realized he hadn't gotten one for himself. "Aren't you having any?" Maya asked. "I'm okay. I just like watching you enjoy it." Harper's face was already covered in ice cream. Piper was eating hers carefully, one small spoonful at a time. They were so different, these twins. 2 halves of one whole. Both perfect. Both hers. When the ice cream was gone, Cole helped clean their hands and faces with wet wipes he'd brought in his pocket. He'd come prepared. Reese noticed that too. He'd thought about what kids might need. Wet wipes. Sunscreen that he'd offered earlier. A small first aid kit visible in his bag. Eventually the girls started getting tired. It was almost noon. They'd been playing for 2 hours. Harper was getting whiny. Piper was rubbing her eyes. "I should get them home," Reese said. "It's almost nap time." "Of course." Cole stood up and brushed sand off his jeans. He looked at the girls. "Thank you for playing with me today. I had a really good time. Will you come back?" Harper asked. The question hung in the air. Both girls were looking at him with hope. Reese felt her heart squeeze. Cole looked at Reese, waiting for her permission. She saw the question in his eyes. The plea. "Maybe," Reese said carefully. "If Cole wants to. And if you two are good this week." It wasn't a promise. But it wasn't a no either. They walked back to the parking lot. Cole walked beside them, carrying the kites in his bag. When they reached Reese's car, he helped buckle the girls into their car seats. His hands fumbled a little with the straps. He clearly didn't know how car seats worked, but he tried. He asked Reese to check his work. "Goodbye, Cole," Piper said as he closed the car door. "Goodbye, Piper." "Goodbye, Harper." "Bye, Cole Daddy," Harper said. The whole world stopped. Reese's hands froze on her car keys. Cole's face went completely still. "Harper," Reese said quickly. "His name is just Cole, remember? But you said he might be our daddy. So, he's Cole Daddy. Until we know for sure." The logic was 5-year-old perfect and devastating. Cole's eyes filled with tears. He blinked them back quickly, but Reese saw them. She saw the emotion breaking through his careful control. "Goodbye, Harper," he managed. "See you soon." Reese got into the driver's seat. She started the engine. In the rearview mirror, she could see Cole standing in the parking lot, watching them drive away. That night, after the girls were in bed, Reese sat on the futon with her phone in her hands. She opened her messages. There was one from Cole, sent an hour ago. "Thank you for today. It meant everything." She stared at the words for a long time. Then she typed back, "They liked you. I liked them. They're incredible, Reese. You've done an amazing job." Reese felt her throat tighten. When was the last time someone had acknowledged how hard she'd worked? How much she'd sacrificed? She couldn't remember. "Thank you," she typed. "That means a lot." The 3 dots appeared. "Can I see them again next week?" She should say no. She should keep her boundaries firm until the test results came back. But Harper and Piper had been happier today than she'd seen them in months. They'd asked about Cole Daddy all afternoon. When would they see him again? Could they show him their drawings? Did he like dinosaurs because Harper really liked dinosaurs? "Yes," Reese typed. "Same time next Saturday. I'll be there." She put the phone down and lay back on the futon. The ceiling fan turned slowly above her head, round and round in the same circle. Her whole life felt like that fan. The same routine over and over, work and home and survival. She'd built something safe but small, predictable but limited. Cole Fitzgerald had just stepped into that circle and made it bigger, scarier, full of possibilities she'd stopped letting herself imagine. She didn't know if that was wonderful or terrifying. Probably both. The week passed in a strange state of suspended animation, Reese worked her shifts at Ruby's. The regulars asked careful questions about the man who'd caused such a scene. Reese deflected. She kept her head down and focused on work. Becca cornered her during a break. So when did the test results come back? Any day now. And then what? Then I guess we figure out what CO parenting looks like. Becca studied her carefully. You like him. I don't even know him. But you did once. 6 years ago. Reese looked away. That was one night. People aren't the same as they were in one night. Maybe not. But girl, I saw how he looked at those babies. That man is hooked. Results or no results, he's not going anywhere. That's what I'm afraid of. Saturday came again. This time, Cole suggested the Children's Museum. Reese met him there at 2 after her lunch shift. The girls were vibrating with excitement. Inside the museum, Cole let the twins lead. They wanted to see the water exhibits first, then the giant kaleidoscope, then the pretend grocery store where they could scan items and pack bags. Cole played along with everything. He pretended to buy groceries from Harper. He helped Piper stack blocks in the physics exhibit. He watched them put on a puppet show and applauded enthusiastically at the end. 3 hours flew by. When they left, the girls were exhausted but happy. Cole walked them to Reese's car. Can I give you all a ride home? My car is right there. He gestured to a black SUV a few spots over. Reese looked at her old sedan, then at her tired daughters, then at Cole's hopeful face. Okay. The drive to her apartment was quiet. The girls dozed in the back seat. Cole drove carefully, checking his mirrors, stopping fully at stop signs. When they pulled up to her building, he put the car in park but didn't turn it off. Reese, I've been thinking. About what? Your apartment. It's small for 3 people. And I know the daycare you use. I looked into it. It's fine, but there are better options. I could help. I could set up an account. For expenses. For a bigger place. For a top-rated preschool. You wouldn't have to worry. There it was. The money. Reese had been waiting for it. It was the tool men like Cole knew how to use. Throw money at problems until they disappeared. No. Cole looked surprised. Why not? Because I provide for my children. We don't need your money, but you could have more. It would make your life easier. You work all the time. You're exhausted. This could help. I said no, Reese repeated. Her voice was harder now. We're not a problem for you to fix with a check. We're fine. You keep saying that, Cole said, frustration creeping into his voice. But you're not fine. You're barely holding on. Let me help. I don't want your help. Not like that. Then how? His hands tightened on the steering wheel. How do I help if you won't let me? You show up. You be consistent. You don't try to buy them or change our life into what you think it should be. That's how. Cole was silent. His phone started ringing on the console. The screen showed a woman's name, Vanessa. You should get that, Reese said. It's not important. But the phone rang again. Same name. Reese got out of the car. She quickly unbuckled the girls and got them out. Harper was mostly asleep. Piper was rubbing her eyes. Thank you for the museum, Reese said through the open car door. Reese, wait. I'll call you when the results come in. She closed the door and carried Harper toward the apartment. Piper held her hand and walked beside her. Behind them, she heard Cole answer his phone. His voice was sharp, annoyed. Vanessa, this isn't a good time. Reese kept walking. She didn't look back. Inside the apartment, she got the girls settled for a quiet afternoon. They were too tired for much activity. They colored at the table while Reese made them grilled cheese sandwiches. Mommy? Piper's voice was thoughtful. Yes, baby? Do you think Cole Daddy will stay? The question pierced Reese's heart. This was exactly what she'd been afraid of. The girls were getting attached, building hope. What happened when that hope got crushed? I don't know, Reese said honestly. We'll have to wait and see. I hope he stays, Harper said around a mouthful of grilled cheese. I like him. He's nice. Reese couldn't argue with that. Cole was nice, patient, present, all the things she'd thought rich men weren't capable of being. But nice wasn't enough. Nice didn't protect them when his complicated world came crashing in. Nice didn't guarantee he wouldn't get bored and disappear. Tuesday morning, the mail came. Reese had the day off. The girls were at kindergarten. She was doing laundry in the shared facilities when the mail carrier knocked on her door. "Package," he called. Reese opened the door. The carrier handed her a large envelope. It was from Genetron Labs. Her hand started shaking. This was it, the results, the official confirmation of what she already knew in her bones. She took the envelope inside. She set it on the counter. She stared at it for 10 minutes without opening it. Her phone rang. "Cole, I got mine," he said. His voice sounded strange, tight. "I got mine too. Have you opened it?" "No." "Can I come over?" She should say no. She should open this alone. Process it alone. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking, and her chest felt too tight, and she couldn't breathe properly. "Yes," she whispered. "I'm on my way." 20 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Reese opened it to find Cole standing there. He was wearing a suit like he'd come from a meeting. In his hand, he held an envelope identical to hers, already torn open. Their eyes met. 6 years of history and pain and missed chances hung between them. "Can I come in?" She stepped aside. He walked into her small apartment. She watched him take it in. Really take it in this time. The futon that doubled as her bed. The plastic storage bins that served as closets. The hot plate and mini fridge. The cramped quarters where she'd raised 2 children alone. She saw judgment in his eyes. Or maybe pity. She couldn't tell which was worse. "Don't," she said quietly. "Don't what?" "Don't look at my life like it's something to be fixed. I wasn't." "You were. I can see it." Cole closed his eyes and took a breath. When he opened them, the judgment was gone, replaced by something softer. "I was thinking that you did all this alone, that you built a life for them in impossible circumstances. I was thinking you're the strongest person I've ever met." The words knocked the air from Reese's lungs. "Let's open it together," Cole said gently. He gestured to her unopened envelope on the counter. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because everything changes after this." Everything already changed. The moment Harper called me Daddy in that diner. This just makes it official. He had a point. Reese picked up the envelope with trembling hands. Cole moved to stand beside her. Not touching, but close. She could smell his cologne. Cedar. It brought her back to that hotel basement. To a tornado. To a night when anything felt possible. "Together?" he asked. She nodded. She slid her finger under the flap and tore it open. She pulled out the papers. There was a lot of technical language, graphs and numbers that meant nothing to her. Then she saw the names. Alleged father, Cole Michael Fitzgerald. Child, Harper Elizabeth Holloway. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. Her eyes moved down the page. Child, Piper Grace Holloway. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. The words "is not excluded as the biological father and considered conclusive" jumped out at her. She read the lines over and over until they blurred. "What does it say?" Cole's voice was rough, desperate. She looked up at him. Tears were streaming down her face. "It says you're their father. Both of them. 99.99%. Cole's face crumpled. He closed his eyes, and tears spilled over. One hand came up to cover his mouth. His whole body was shaking. "They're mine," he whispered. "Oh God, they're mine." He walked to the window and stood there with his back to her. His shoulders were shaking. She realized he was crying. Actually crying. Not silent tears, but real, gut-wrenching sobs. 4 years, he said, his voice breaking. "I missed 4 years. I missed them being born. I missed their first steps. Their first words. Every birthday. Every single day. 5 years, Reese corrected softly. They just turned 5. 5 years. Cole turned around. His face was wet. His eyes were red. 5 years of their lives I'll never get back. I know. Do you? He took a step toward her. Do you understand what it feels like to find out you have children and realize you've missed everything? Reese felt anger spark in her chest. Don't you dare make this my fault. I tried to find you. You're the one who left without a trace. I left a note. I never got it. Then I should have done more. I should have given you my card. My number. Something. Cole ran his hands through his hair. This is my fault. All of it. They stood there in the small kitchen, the test results between them, 6 years of regret filling the space. What happens now? Reese asked. Cole looked at her with fierce intensity. Now, I want to be their father. Really be their father. Not just weekend visits. I want to be there for school and doctor's appointments and bedtime stories. I want everything I missed. Fear crashed over Reese like a wave. You can't just walk in and take over their lives. I'm not trying to take over. I'm trying to be part of it. We have a routine. A life. I can't just... I don't want to disrupt your routine, Cole said. His voice was calmer now, more measured. I want to support it. I want to help you. Please let me help you. The word please again. It disarmed her, made her walls crack just a little. Before she could respond, there was a sharp knock at the door. Hard, impatient. Reese frowned. She wasn't expecting anyone. She walked to the door and looked through the peephole. A blonde woman in expensive clothes stood in the doorway. Reese had never seen her before. She opened the door a crack. Can I help you? The woman smiled. It was not a friendly smile. I'm looking for Cole Fitzgerald. I believe he's here. Who are you? Paige Drummond. Cole's business partner. We need to talk. And before Reese could stop her, Paige pushed the door open and walked right in. Paige Drummond walked into Reese's apartment like she owned it. Her heels clicked on the cheap linoleum floor. Her eyes swept over the small space with barely concealed disgust. She looked at the futon, the plastic storage bins, the hot plate. Then her gaze landed on Reese, and her smile turned sharp. You must be Reese Holloway. Paige, what are you doing here? Cole stepped between them. His voice was hard, controlled. Get out. Paige ignored him. She kept her eyes on Reese. I've heard so much about you. The waitress who just happened to track down a billionaire after 6 years. What a remarkable coincidence. I didn't track anyone down, Reese said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. He walked into my diner. Of course he did. Paige's tone dripped with false sympathy. And your daughter just happened to run up to him. Very convenient. Get out of my home, Reese said. In a minute. Paige pulled out her phone. She tapped the screen a few times, then held it up so both Reese and Cole could see. The screen showed a photograph, a much younger Reese. Her hair was wild. Her makeup was smeared. She was holding a beer bottle and laughing on a crowded dance floor. The photo was clearly taken at a party. The kind of party that happened in college. The kind of party where people made mistakes. Reese felt the blood drain from her face. She knew that photo. It was from 7 years ago, before Dallas. Before the twins, back when she was 21 and stupid and trying to forget that she aged out of foster care with nowhere to go and nobody who cared. Where did you get that? Reese whispered. I have my sources, Paige said. She swiped to the next photo. Same night. Reese dancing on a table. Another swipe. Reese passed out on a couch at some house party. That was years ago, Reese said. Her voice was shaking now. Before I had them. It doesn't mean anything. It tells a story, Paige said calmly. A young woman with a troubled past. Foster care. No family. A history of poor choices. Partying. Drinking. And then suddenly, a pregnancy. Twins. And she raises them alone in poverty until finally, she finds the father. A very wealthy father. You're twisting everything. I'm connecting dots. Paige put her phone away. She looked at Cole. Here's the situation. I've already been contacted by 3 journalists. Someone at that diner talked. This story is going to break tomorrow with or without your cooperation. So let it break, Cole said. His hands were clenched into fists at his sides. Oh, it will. But the question is how? Paige walked slowly around the small apartment. Right now, I can control the narrative. I have media contacts. I can make this a simple human interest story. Billionaire discovers secret children. Everyone loves a reunion. Or, she stopped and looked directly at Reese. I can make it something else entirely. Gold digger traps wealthy man with convenient pregnancy. Unfit. Mother seeks payday. I have photos. I have your employment history. 3 different waitressing jobs in 5 years. 2 evictions. An arrest record. I was never arrested, Reese said. You were arrested for public intoxication when you were 22. The charges were dropped. I wasn't even drunk. I was the designated driver. My friend was drunk and they arrested both of us. But the arrest record exists. Paige said. Along with these photos, along with your financial history, maxed out credit cards, defaulted student loans. You can explain all of it, I'm sure, but will anyone listen? Or will they just see what I want them to see? What do you want? Cole's voice was dangerous. Paige turned to him. She pulled a document from her designer purse. I want you to sign over your 15% stake in the Riverside venture to me. Do it by tomorrow afternoon, and these photos disappear. I forget I ever saw them. The media gets a nice clean story about family reunification. Everyone wins. Cole stared at her. Reese could see the muscle in his jaw working. The Riverside venture was Cole's next big project. Reese didn't know much about real estate development, but she'd heard him mention it on the phone. It was supposed to be worth millions, maybe hundreds of millions. You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you a choice, Paige corrected. Your company or your reputation. Well, her reputation. She gestured to Reese. But I assume you care about that now. You're insane. I'm practical. Paige walked to the door. She paused with her hand on the knob. Think about it, Cole. Is 15% of one project worth having this woman's past splashed across every news site in the country? Is it worth having social services investigate her fitness as a mother? Because that's what will happen. You know it will. Photos of her partying, her arrest record, her poverty. They'll question everything. She looked at Reese one more time. Her smile was cold as ice. Congratulations on your daughters, she said. They're lovely. It would be a shame if this affected them. Then she left. The door closed behind her with a soft click. The silence in the apartment was deafening. Reese stood frozen. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All she could see were those photos. Her 21-year-old self making stupid choices, dancing on tables, passing out at parties. She'd been so lost back then, so alone. She'd been trying to feel something, anything, trying to prove she was alive and free and not just another throwaway foster kid. But that wasn't who she was anymore. She'd changed. She'd grown up. She'd become a mother and built a life and worked herself to exhaustion to give her daughters something better. None of that would matter. Paige was right. People would see the photos and make up their minds. Gold digger, unfit mother, opportunist. I need to leave, Reese heard herself say. What? I need to take the girls and leave. Go to Houston. My sister is there. We can stay with her until this blows over. Reese, no. She'll destroy me. She'll destroy us. You heard her. Cole crossed the room in 3 strides. He grabbed Reese's hands. She tried to pull away, but he held firm. Listen to me. I am not giving her anything. Not my company. Not my compliance. Nothing. Then she'll release those photos. Let her. Reese stared at him. You don't understand. Those pictures will make me look like trash. Like exactly what she said. A gold digger. A bad mother. Someone who doesn't deserve her kids. You are none of those things. It doesn't matter what's true. It matters what people believe. Cole's hands tightened on hers. Then we make them believe the truth. We don't hide. We don't run. We stand together and tell the real story. How? There's a charity gala Saturday night at the Four Seasons, the Miami Hope Children's Fund. It's the biggest social event of the spring. Everyone who's anyone will be there, including every journalist in Austin. Paige will be there. You want me to go to a gala? Reese pulled her hands free. Cole, I can't. I don't belong in that world. I'll just make it worse. You belong anywhere I am. Cole's voice was fierce. We go together. We walk in as a family. We control the narrative before Paige can poison it. We show them that you're not ashamed, that I'm not ashamed, that our daughters are not a scandal. They'll tear me apart. Not if I'm standing next to you. Reese shook her head. She wrapped her arms around herself. This is crazy. I don't even have anything to wear to something like that. And the girls. I can't leave them alone. And my job. I'm scheduled to work Saturday night. And I can't afford a babysitter. And I don't know how to be in a room like that with people like that. She was spiraling. She could feel it. The panic was rising in her chest like water. Cole stepped close again. He didn't touch her this time. Just stood there, solid and steady. I will take care of the dress. My sister Audrey is in town. She would love to watch Harper and Piper. You can call in sick to work for one night, and you don't need to know how to be anyone except yourself. I'm scared. I know. I'm scared too. You? You do this kind of thing all the time. Not with someone who actually matters. Cole's gray eyes held hers. Not with stakes this high. But Reese, if we hide, if we run, Paige wins. She'll always have this over us. She'll always be able to threaten you. The only way to beat her is to take away her power. By walking into a room full of rich people who'll judge me. By standing in the light. By telling the truth. By showing them that you have nothing to be ashamed of. Reese wanted to believe him, but she'd spent her whole life being judged by social workers who moved her from home to home, by teachers who assumed foster kids were trouble, by people who looked at her waitress uniform and made assumptions about her intelligence and worth. Walking into a ballroom full of Austin's elite felt like walking into a firing squad, but staying here, hiding, waiting for Paige to destroy her in the press, that felt like dying slowly. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I'll go. Cole's whole face changed. Relief and gratitude flooded his expression. Thank you. Thank you for trusting me. Don't make me regret it. I won't. I promise. He left shortly after. Reese stood alone in her apartment, staring at the DNA results still sitting on the counter. 99.99% probability of paternity. Cole Fitzgerald was officially the father of her children. And in 4 days, the whole world was going to know about it. The next morning, Reese called Ruby's Diner and told them she was sick Saturday night. Her manager was annoyed but agreed to find coverage. Then she called her sister in Houston. Rachel, I need advice. Her half-sister was 3 years older. They'd been in different foster homes most of their childhood. They weren't close. But Rachel was the only family Reese had. What's wrong? Everything. Reese told her the whole story. Dallas, the tornado, the one night, the pregnancy, the 6 years of silence, Cole showing up, the DNA test, and now Paige and her threats and the gala. Rachel was quiet for a long moment after Reese finished. So, you're thinking about running, Rachel finally said. How did you know? Because running is what we do. It's what we were taught. When things get hard, you disappear. Move to the next home, the next town, the next life. Reese felt tears prick her eyes. Is that so wrong? No. It's survival. But Reese, you've been surviving your whole life. Maybe it's time to try something different. Maybe it's time to stand still and fight. I don't know how. You learn. You're braver than you think. You raised 2 kids alone. You built a life from nothing. You can handle one night with some rich people. They're going to look at me like I'm trash. Let them look. You know who you are. Your daughters know who you are. This Cole guy, he knows who you are. Everyone else is just noise. After they hung up, Reese sat with her phone in her hands. Rachel was right. She'd been running her whole life. From foster homes. From her past. From anything that felt too hard or too scary. But Harper and Piper deserved a mother who stood her ground. Who fought for them. Who showed them that you didn't have to hide from your past or your mistakes. Wednesday afternoon, a delivery arrived. A large garment bag from a boutique Reese had never heard of. Inside was a dress. Midnight blue. Simple but elegant. Beautiful. There were shoes that matched. A small clutch purse. Even jewelry. Small pearl earrings that looked real. There was a note attached. Midnight blue. Your favorite color? You mentioned it once. 6 years ago. In a basement. I remembered. Cole. Reese held the dress up to herself and looked in the small mirror by the bathroom. The fabric felt like water. The color made her eyes brighter. She'd never owned anything this beautiful. Thursday, Cole texted. My sister Audrey wants to meet Harper and Piper before Saturday. Can she come by tomorrow afternoon? Reese hesitated, then typed back. Okay. After kindergarten, around 4. Friday at 4, there was a knock on the door. Reese opened it to find a petite woman with warm brown eyes and an easy smile. She was wearing jeans and a casual top. Nothing fancy, nothing intimidating. You must be Reese. I'm Audrey, Cole's younger and much more charming sister. Reese couldn't help but smile. Come in. Audrey stepped inside. Unlike Paige, she didn't look around with judgment. She just smiled at the twins, who were sitting at their small table coloring. These must be Harper and Piper. Oh my goodness, You two are beautiful. Harper looked up. Are you Cole Daddy's sister? I am, which makes me your Aunt Audrey, if that's okay with you. Both girls nodded solemnly. Audrey sat down at the small table. What are you coloring? Dinosaurs, Harper said. Clouds, Piper added. For the next hour, Audrey colored with the girls. She asked them questions about their favorite things. She listened to Harper's elaborate story about a dragon who ate too much ice cream. She admired Piper's careful shading technique. Reese watched from the kitchen. She was waiting for the judgment, the subtle condescension, the pity, but it never came. Audrey treated her daughters like they were the most interesting people she'd met all week. Eventually, Harper and Piper went to play in the corner. Audrey stood and joined Reese in the kitchen. They're wonderful, Audrey said. You've done an incredible job. Thank you. Cole told me about Saturday, about the gala, about Paige. Audrey's expression turned serious. I want you to know something. Paige has been trying to sink her claws into my brother for years. She invested in his company and decided that gave her ownership over his entire life. He's never been interested, and now that he's found you and the girls, she's losing her mind. She has photos of me. From a long time ago. I know. Cole told me. And I want you to know that I don't care. I was 21 once too. I made stupid choices, went to parties I shouldn't have gone to, did things I'm not proud of. Most people have. Paige is banking on you being ashamed. Don't give her that power. Easier said than done. I know, but Reese, my brother hasn't been this happy in years, maybe ever. When he talks about Harper and Piper, his whole face lights up. When he talks about you, he sounds like a man who just found something he didn't know he was missing. Don't let Paige take that away. I'm not trying to take anything. I'm just trying to protect my daughters. Then let Cole help you. Let us help you. You don't have to do everything alone anymore. After Audrey left, Reese felt something shift inside her. Maybe it was possible. Maybe she didn't have to face everything by herself. Maybe letting people in wasn't weakness. Maybe it was the bravest thing she could do. Saturday arrived too fast. Reese spent the morning with the girls. They went to the park. They made pancakes for lunch. She read them stories and held them close and tried not to think about the evening ahead. At 5, Audrey arrived to babysit. She brought a bag full of games and books. Harper and Piper were thrilled. You look beautiful, Mommy, Piper said when Reese came out in the blue dress. Like a princess, Harper added. Reese knelt down and hugged them both. I love you both so much. Be good for Aunt Audrey. We will. The doorbell rang again. Cole. Reese took a deep breath and opened the door. He was in a tuxedo. He looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. But when he saw her, his expression softened into something real. Reese, you're stunning. I feel ridiculous. You look perfect. The drive to the Four Seasons took 20 minutes. Reese sat in the passenger seat of Cole's car, her hands twisted together in her lap. She couldn't stop shaking. Hey, Cole's hand covered hers. You don't have to do this. If you want to turn around, we turn around. No, I want to. I'm just terrified. Me too. She looked at him. Really, really. I'm about to walk into a room full of investors and board members and tell them all about my secret children with a woman I met 6 years ago. Half of them are going to question my judgment. The other half are going to see dollar signs and lawsuits. Then why are we doing this? Because hiding would be worse. And because I want them to know. I want everyone to know that Harper and Piper are mine. That I'm proud of them. That I'm proud of you. His words wrapped around her like armor. They pulled up to the Four Seasons. The hotel was glowing with lights. A red carpet led to the entrance. Valets were parking cars. Photographers lined the walkway. Reese's courage wavered. There were cameras. Actual cameras. This was real. Cole got out and came around to her door. He opened it and offered his hand. Stay close to me. Don't let go of my hand. I've got you. She took his hand and stepped out of the car. Immediately, camera flashes went off. Questions were shouted from the press line. Mr. Fitzgerald, who's your date tonight? Cole, over here, look this way. Cole kept his hand on the small of Reese's back. He guided her up the red carpet, pausing once for a photo. He stood close to her, protective, present. Inside the hotel, the noise of the photographers faded. They walked through a grand hallway toward the ballroom. Reese could hear music, laughter, The clink of glasses. "Here we go," Cole murmured. They stepped into the ballroom. It was massive. Crystal chandeliers hung from a ceiling painted with gold leaf. Round tables covered in white linens filled the space. Hundreds of people in tuxedos and evening gowns mingled and talked and laughed. The air smelled like expensive perfume and champagne. Reese felt every eye turned toward them. The conversations didn't stop exactly, but they changed, became quieter, more purposeful. People leaned toward each other and whispered. Phones appeared. Discreet photos were taken. Reese wanted to run. Cole's hand tightened on hers. "Breathe," he whispered. "Just breathe." He led her into the crowd. People approached. He introduced her over and over. "This is Reese Holloway, the mother of my daughters." Every time he said it, Reese waited for judgment. Sometimes she got it. Cold smiles, raised eyebrows. Once, a woman actually looked her up and down and said, "How unexpected," before walking away. But some people were kind. A pediatrician named Margaret shook her hand warmly and asked about the twins. An investor named David asked thoughtful questions about her catering work. A woman named Susan told her she loved her dress and meant it. An hour passed. Reese started to breathe a little easier. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad. Maybe they could get through the evening without disaster. Then she saw Paige. She was across the ballroom in a silver dress that probably cost more than Reese's car. Her blonde hair was swept up in an elaborate style. She was holding a champagne glass and talking to a group of people. When she saw Reese and Cole, she smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Paige said something to the people around her. They all turned to look. Then Paige started walking toward the small stage at the front of the ballroom, where a microphone stood. "No," Reese breathed. Cole saw her too. His whole body went tense. Paige stepped up to the microphone. She tapped it lightly. The sound echoed through the ballroom. Conversation stopped. People turned to look. "Excuse me, everyone," Paige said. Her voice was sweet, amplified, deadly. "I hate to interrupt this wonderful event, but I have some delightful news to share." Reese felt her heart stop. "Our very own Cole Fitzgerald has just discovered he's a father, to twin 5-year-old girls no less. Let's give him a round of applause for stepping up after all these years." The applause was scattered, confused. People looked at each other uncertainly. Paige's smile widened. Of course, some might wonder where the mother has been all this time. Raising 2 children alone must be difficult. I suppose when you're struggling, you do what you have to do, even if that means tracking down the father at just the right moment. Very convenient timing, wouldn't you say? The implication was clear. Gold digger. Opportunist. Trap. Reese felt her face burn. Whispers erupted around the room. She heard the words. Waitress. Secret children. Money. She started to turn toward the exit. She couldn't do this. She couldn't stand here while this woman destroyed her in front of hundreds of people. Cole's hand caught hers. "Don't," he whispered. "Stay with me. Please." His eyes were begging her, trusting her. Reese stopped. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But she stayed. Paige stepped away from the microphone. She glided toward them, a small group of her friends following like sharks scenting blood. "James, darling," Paige said, stopping in front of them. She used Cole's middle name. Possessive, intimate, and you must be Reese. How charming to finally meet you properly. Her eyes raked over Reese from head to toe. "That's a lovely dress. It's amazing what money can buy, isn't it?" Reese didn't respond. She couldn't. Her throat was closed. Paige turned her attention to the people gathered around them. Listening, watching. "It must be so difficult for you, dear. Raising twins all alone. Working in that dreadful little diner. I can't imagine the stress. It's no wonder you needed to find a way out." The people around them were silent, watching the show. "I provide for my children just fine," Reese managed. Her voice shook, but she got the words out. "Of course you do," Paige said. Her tone implied the opposite. "Now that you have their father's resources, it must be such a relief. No more worrying about bills. No more serving hash browns to strangers. Just a simple DNA test and all your problems were solved. Very clever." Reese felt tears threatening. This was exactly what she'd feared, being humiliated, exposed, judged by people who would never understand what it was like to build a life from nothing. But then Cole moved. He didn't raise his voice, didn't get angry. He simply stepped forward and walked to the microphone. Paige's triumphant expression faltered slightly. She'd expected him to retreat, to try to contain the damage quietly. Instead, Cole took the microphone. The ballroom went completely silent. "Thank you, Paige," Cole said. His voice was calm, steady. "You're right about one thing. I am a father to two incredible 5-year-old girls named Harper and Piper, and I found out about them 2 weeks ago when one of them ran across a diner and called me Daddy." A murmur rippled through the crowd. The story Paige is implying, that their mother trapped me or tracked me down for money, is completely false. Cole's eyes scanned the room. "Let me tell you the true story." Reese's heart was pounding. What was he doing? 6 years ago, I was at a conference in Dallas. There was a tornado. Everyone was sent to the basement of the hotel to shelter. I ended up next to a young woman who was as scared as I was. We talked for 4 hours while the world fell apart outside. His voice was steady, strong, carrying across the silent ballroom. Her name was Reese. She was studying hospitality management on a scholarship. She'd grown up in foster care. She was working 3 jobs to pay for school. She talked about her dreams of building something stable, something permanent, something that would last. Cole's eyes found Reese in the crowd. We connected, really connected, in a way I'd never connected with anyone. It was real and unexpected and brief. I had a flight early the next morning. I thought I left her a note with my contact information. The hotel lost it. I didn't even think to verify. I just left. He paused. Let the weight of that sink in. 2 weeks later, Reese found out she was pregnant, not with one baby, with twins, and she had no way to find me. No last name, no phone number, nothing. The crowd was listening now, really listening, so she made a choice. She dropped out of school. She worked 2 jobs. She raised Harper and Piper alone for 5 years. She gave them everything she had, and she never asked me for a single thing, because she didn't know how to find me. And even after I walked into her diner 2 weeks ago, she still didn't ask. In fact, she fought me on every offer of help. Cole's voice grew stronger. "You want to call her a gold digger? She's worked herself to exhaustion to avoid taking my money. You want to question her character? She built a life for 2 children from nothing, with no help, no family, no support system. She did it alone, and she did it beautifully." He turned to face the crowd fully. "Some of you are looking at her and seeing a waitress, someone who doesn't belong in this room, someone beneath your social circle." The ballroom was absolutely silent. "You're right. She doesn't belong here." Reese's heart sank, but Cole wasn't done. This world of pretense and judgment, where we care more about appearances than truth, where we tear people down for sport. She's better than this. She's better than all of us. His words rang through the ballroom like a bell. For 6 years I've been building an empire, closing deals, making money, earning respect, and I thought that was success. I thought that mattered. Then I spent an afternoon flying kites with my daughters, 2 little girls with my eyes and my stubborn chin and their mother's incredible heart. And I realized that everything I'd built meant nothing compared to them. Cole looked directly at Paige. "Your threats are empty. Your photos are old news. You want to shame Reese for being 21 and making mistakes? Most of us here have done worse and just had better luck or better lawyers. You want to paint her as opportunistic. She's the least opportunistic person I've ever met. She's honest and hardworking and real." He turned back to the crowd. "Harper and Piper are not a scandal. They're not a liability. They're not a problem to be managed. They're my daughters, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of the mother who raised them, and I choose them. Over my reputation, over my business partnerships, over everything." Cole extended his hand toward Reese. "So Reese, if you'll still have me, if you'll trust me, I'd like to be the father our daughters deserve. I'd like to show them that family isn't about perfection or money or status. It's about showing up. It's about choosing each other, every single day." The entire ballroom was staring at her. Reese could walk away. She could protect herself, keep her walls up, stay safe, or she could choose to be brave. She thought of Harper's face when she'd run to Cole in the diner. Pure recognition, like she'd known him all along. She thought of Piper asking, "Do you think Cole Daddy will stay?" She thought of her daughters watching her right now, not physically, but in the choices she made. In the example she set, Reese walked across the ballroom floor. The crowd parted for her. Every step felt like walking through fire, but she kept going. She reached Cole and took his outstretched hand. The ballroom erupted in applause. Real applause this time. Warm, genuine. People were smiling. Some were even crying. Paige stood at the edge of the room, her face twisted with fury. But no one was looking at her anymore. Cole pulled Reese close. He whispered in her ear, "Thank you for trusting me." "Don't make me regret it," she whispered back. "I'll spend every day trying not to." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. People approached them with genuine warmth. Margaret, the pediatrician, hugged Reese. David, the investor, shook Cole's hand and said, "That took courage." "Well done." Even people who'd been cold earlier softened. They asked about the twins, about how they were adjusting, about what came next. Paige disappeared early. Reese saw her leave through a side door, her small group of followers trailing behind her. Around 11, Cole and Reese left the gala. The photographers were still outside. This time, when they took pictures, Reese didn't flinch. They drove back to Reese's apartment in comfortable silence. When they pulled up outside, Cole turned to her. "You were incredibly brave tonight. I was terrified." Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the thing anyway. Where did you learn that? From you. From watching you build a life for our daughters against impossible odds. Our daughters. The words settled between them. Real. True. What happens now? Reese asked. Now we figure it out. Together. As partners. As CO parents. As whatever we need to be for them. Just them. Cole's eyes held hers. For now, yes. Harper and Piper come first. Everything else we'll figure out as we go. Reese nodded. That was fair. That was right. They'd moved too fast already. They needed to slow down. Put the girls first. Build trust through actions, not words. Thank you for tonight, she said. Thank you for saying yes. She got out of the car and walked to her apartment. Audrey opened the door before she could knock. They're asleep. They were perfect. How did it go? It went, Reese said. I saw. Audrey held up her phone. It's already online. The video of Cole's speech. It's going viral. Reese looked at the screen. Someone had recorded the whole thing. Cole at the microphone. His words. Reese walking across the ballroom. The applause. The comments below were overwhelmingly positive. This is beautiful. Real love looks like this. He chose his family. Respect. Maybe it was going to be okay. Maybe the truth really was enough. Sunday morning, Reese woke to her phone buzzing nonstop. Text messages, emails, notifications. She ignored them all and made breakfast for the girls. But curiosity got the better of her. During nap time, she finally looked. The first thing she saw was an article from Austin Monthly. The headline read, Modern Families, Cole Fitzgerald on Redefining Success. She clicked on it. The article was thoughtful, fair. It told their story accurately. It quoted Cole's speech. It included the photo of them at the park flying kites with the girls. The article talked about modern families, about second chances, about what it meant to choose love over convenience. The ending quote was from Cole. I built $1 billion company, and I thought that was success. But success is my daughters running to meet me when I arrive. Success is Reese trusting me enough to let me be part of their lives. Success is choosing family every single time. Reese set down her phone. Her hands were shaking, but this time it was different. Not fear, something else. Something like hope. Before this story reaches its beautiful conclusion, I want you to do something for me. If Reese and Cole's journey has touched your heart, if you've ever felt judged for your past or struggled to trust again, I need you to hit that like button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that second chances are real. And subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips, because every week I bring you stories that remind us what really matters. Now, let's see how this family's story unfolds. The next few weeks were an adjustment. Cole flew back to New York for work, but returned every weekend. He called every night at 7 to talk to the girls. He asked about their day, their friends, what they learned in kindergarten. He helped Reese figure out logistics, not by throwing money at problems, but by being present. He picked the girls up from school on Fridays so Reese could work a full shift. He took them to the park on Saturday mornings so Reese could study. Study for he'd asked. I want to go back to school. Nursing. Cole's face had lit up. That's amazing. What do you need? Child care. Help. Time. I can cover tuition with financial aid. Let me help with child care costs. Not as a handout. As my responsibility as their father. We split the expenses. Reese had agreed. It felt different than him trying to rescue her. This felt like partnership. 3 months after the gala, Reese enrolled in Austin Community College's nursing program. It was part-time, 2 evenings a week plus some online coursework, but it was a start. Cole helped her move to a new apartment. Still modest, but bigger. 2 bedrooms. Harper and Piper finally had their own room. Reese had a futon in the living room that folded out into a bed. It wasn't much, but it was more than they'd had. You could have a house, Cole had said. I could help you buy something. Not yet, Reese had replied. Let me do this at my own pace. He'd respected that. 6 months after the gala, Reese stood in the backyard of a small house in South Austin. Not a mansion, not even a big house, just a modest 3-bedroom with a yard where Harper and Piper could play. Cole had helped her qualify for a mortgage. Her new job as a nursing assistant at Dell Children's Hospital paid better than the diner. Combined with child support that Cole insisted on providing, she'd been able to qualify. The house was hers, in her name, something permanent, something that couldn't be taken away. She stood at the kitchen window watching Cole help the girls build a fairy garden in the backyard. Harper was digging holes with intense focus. Piper was carefully arranging rocks. Cole was following their instructions, his expensive jeans covered in dirt. Becca appeared beside her with 2 glasses of iced tea. Look at him, Becca said, shaking her head. A billionaire on his knees planting flowers, because a 5-year-old told him to. Reese smiled. He's a good dad. And you too? We're figuring it out. You've been figuring it out for 6 months. Rome wasn't built in a day. Girl, Rome also didn't have 2 adorable children calling someone Cole Daddy. Reese laughed. The sound felt good, felt real. The truth was, she didn't know what she and Cole were building. They were co-parents, friends. Sometimes when he looked at her, she saw something more in his eyes. And sometimes, when he was playing with the girls or helping with bath, time or reading bedtime stories, she felt something more in her heart. But they were taking it slow, building trust, showing up for each other, for Harper, for Piper. One Saturday evening after the girls were in bed, Cole and Reese sat on the back porch of her new house. The Austin sky was turning purple and orange. Cicadas sang in the trees. I have something to tell you, Cole said. What? Paige is out. She sold her stake in Fitzgerald Development. She's moving to California. Reese felt a weight lift. Really? Really? After the gala, after the article, she lost a lot of credibility. Investors started questioning her judgment. She realized she couldn't win. So she's cutting her losses and starting over somewhere else. Good. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Reese, yeah? Are you happy? The question caught her off guard. She thought about it. Really thought about it. Yes, she said. I am. For the first time in a long time, I'm actually happy. Me too. Another silence. This one felt different, charged. Cole reached over and took her hand. The gesture was simple, but it meant everything. Thank you, he said. For what? For giving me a chance. For letting me into their lives. For trusting me even when you were scared. Thank you for showing up. For being consistent. For proving that you meant what you said. He squeezed her hand gently. I meant every word. I still mean it. Every day, I choose you. I choose them. I choose this. Reese looked at their joined hands. 6 months ago, she'd been terrified of this man. Terrified he'd take her daughters. Terrified he'd disrupt their lives and disappear. Instead, he'd become the most stable, consistent presence they'd ever had. Cole? Yeah? I'm glad you walked into that diner. Me too. Best coffee I never drank. They both laughed. Inside, through the window, Reese could see the girls' bedroom. Their nightlight glowed softly. 2 small beds, 2 sleeping children who would wake up tomorrow knowing they were loved. By their mother, by their father, by a family that didn't look like anyone else's but was theirs. 1 year after that day in the diner, Ruby's had a special visitor. Reese walked in wearing scrubs from the hospital. She'd just finished her shift as a nursing assistant. In one more year she'd graduate with her RN, but today she was just visiting. Becca squealed when she saw her. "Look at you. Scrubs and everything." "I know. Official medical personnel." "How's the new job?" "Exhausting. Amazing. Everything I hoped." "And the girls?" "Growing like weeds. Harper wants to play soccer. Piper wants art lessons. They're both thriving." "And Cole?" Becca's eyebrows waggled suggestively. Reese felt heat creep up her neck. "We're good. Really good." "Good as in?" "Good as in he asked me to dinner. An actual date. Not a CEO parenting meeting. A date. Finally." "When?" "Next weekend. Audrey is watching the girls." Becca hugged her tight. "I'm so happy for you. You deserve this." Later that evening, Reese picked up Harper and Piper from their after-school program. They climbed into her car, chattering about their day. "Daddy's coming tonight, right?" Harper asked. "Yep." "Friday night. He'll be here by 6. Can we show him our art projects?" "Absolutely." That night, at exactly 6, Cole's car pulled into the driveway. The girls ran to the door before Reese could even stand up. "Daddy!" They crashed into him the way Harper had crashed into him that first day at the diner. But this time, it wasn't a shock. It was routine. It was normal. It was family. Cole scooped them both up, one in each arm. He looked over their heads at Reese and smiled. That smile still made her heart skip. Dinner was chaotic. Spaghetti everywhere. Harper telling elaborate stories. Piper showing Cole every single drawing she'd made that week. Bath time. Book time. Bedtime. When the girls were finally asleep, Cole and Reese collapsed on the couch together. "They're exhausting," Cole said. "They're perfect." That too. They sat in comfortable silence. Cole's arm was stretched across the back of the couch. Reese was curled into the corner, her feet tucked under her. "Can I ask you something?" Cole said. "Sure. Do you ever regret it?" "That night in Dallas? Everything that came after?" Reese thought about it. About being 22 and pregnant and terrified. About the years of exhaustion and fear and barely getting by. About the moment Harper had run across the diner and shattered her careful life. "No," she said. "Not for a second. That night gave me Harper and Piper, and eventually it gave me you." How could I regret that? Even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. The hard parts taught me I was stronger than I thought. They taught me what I was capable of. Cole's hand found hers. "You're the strongest person I know. I learned from the best. Two little girls who chose joy every day, even when we had nothing. We have something now." "Yeah, we do." Cole shifted closer. His gray eyes held hers. "Reese?" "Yeah? Can I kiss you?" Her breath caught. They'd been dancing around this for months. Building friendship. Building trust. Building a foundation. Maybe it was time to build something more. Yes, he leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind. But she didn't. She met him halfway. The kiss was soft, gentle, full of 6 years of lost time and 6 months of rebuilding and all the promise of what came next. When they pulled apart, Cole rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that since the gala. Since I saw you walk across that ballroom. I've wanted you to. Really, really." They sat together on the couch, hands intertwined, and talked until midnight. About their hopes for the girls. About Reese's nursing career. About Cole's work. About the possibility of more. Not rushing. Just acknowledging that this thing between them was real. Was growing. Was worth exploring. When Cole finally left, he kissed her again at the door. Sweet and full of promise. "See you tomorrow?" he asked. Tomorrow. 2 years after the diner, Reese stood in her small backyard watching her family. Harper and Piper were 7 now. Taller. Smarter. Still identical in appearance but completely different in personality. Cole was helping them build a blanket fort that kept collapsing. They were laughing. All 3 of them covered in pillows and sheets. Audrey was there too. She'd become a regular presence. A true aunt. She was making sandwiches in the kitchen. Becca and her husband had stopped by with their new baby. Everyone was here. Reese's chosen family. Not connected by blood or traditional definitions. Connected by choice, by love, by showing up. Reese's phone buzzed. A text from her nursing school advisor. "Congratulations, Reese. You passed your final exam. You're officially an RN. We're so proud of you." Reese stared at the message. She'd done it. After everything. After years of barely surviving. She'd finished school. She'd built a career. She'd created stability. Not alone, but with help, with partnership, with people who showed up. She walked over to the blanket fort. Cole looked up and immediately saw her expression. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Everything's right. I passed. I'm a nurse." Cole's face split into a huge smile. He stood up and pulled her into a tight hug. "I'm so proud of you." "Mommy's a nurse," Harper shouted. "That means she can give us shots," Piper said nervously. "Only if you're sick," Reese laughed. The blanket fort finally held. All four of them crawled inside. It was cramped and dim and perfect. Cole's arm was around Reese. Harper was chattering about something. Piper was drawing on a notepad by flashlight. This, Reese thought, this is what I was fighting for. Not perfection, not a fairy tale, just this. A moment of ordinary magic with people she loved. Cole caught her eye in the dim light. He smiled. She smiled back. They didn't need words. They both knew. They'd built something real, something that lasted, something worth every hard moment it took to get here. 3 years after the diner, the article that had started it all got a follow-up. Austin Monthly reached out to Cole for an update. Where are they now? Cole invited the journalist to their home. Not a mansion, just Reese's modest house in South Austin. The interview happened in the backyard while Harper and Piper played. The article published a month later with the headline, "Love in the Ordinary, the Fitzgerald Family 3 years later." It talked about Cole's decision to split his time between New York and Austin, about Reese's nursing career at Dell Children's, about Harper and Piper thriving in school, about a family that didn't fit traditional molds but worked beautifully anyway. The final quote was from Reese. "People ask me if I ever imagined this life. A CO parenting relationship with a man I barely knew, raising daughters with someone who missed their first 5 years, building something from such a complicated beginning. The truth is, no, I never imagined this. I imagined surviving, getting by, protecting my daughters from anything that might hurt them. But Cole taught me something. Sometimes the thing you're most afraid of is actually the thing you need most. Sometimes letting people in is braver than keeping them out. Sometimes family isn't about how it starts. It's about who shows up, who stays, who chooses you every single day." The article included photos, the 4 of them at the park. Cole pushing the girls on swings. Reese and Cole sitting on the porch, their hands intertwined. A family dinner with everyone laughing. The comments section filled with support, with people sharing their own unconventional family stories. Single parents who found partners, blended families, chosen families. All the messy, beautiful ways people built lives together. If this story has reminded you that family comes in all forms, that second chances are real, and that courage looks like showing up even when you're scared, then I need you to do 3 things right now. First, smash that like button. Second, share this video with someone who needs hope. And third, subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips and turn on notifications, because every single week I share stories that will touch your soul. Now drop a comment and tell me what family means to you. 5 years after the diner, on an ordinary Saturday morning, Reese woke up in a bedroom that wasn't hers alone anymore. Cole was there, not visiting, living. They'd made it official 6 months ago. Not marriage, not yet, but a commitment, a choice to build one life instead of 2 separate ones coordinating. She could hear the girls downstairs, 9 years old now, making pancakes with Cole, laughing, arguing about whose turn it was to flip. Reese lay in bed for a moment, listening, soaking in the ordinary sounds of family, the clatter of dishes, Cole's patient voice explaining pancake physics, Harper's loud enthusiasm, Piper's quiet but insistent corrections. 5 years ago, she'd been terrified, alone, convinced that Cole Fitzgerald would ruin everything she'd built. Instead, he'd helped her build something bigger, something better, something that included more love, more support, more possibility than she'd ever imagined. She got up and went downstairs. Cole looked up from the griddle and smiled. "Morning, beautiful. Morning. Mommy." Harper ran over and hugged her. "We're making chocolate chip pancakes. I can see that." Reese looked at the flour-covered kitchen. and making a mess. Worth it, Cole said, flipping a pancake with unnecessary flair. They ate breakfast together at the kitchen table. Sticky syrup, too much laughter, plans for the day, soccer practice for Harper, art class for Piper, grocery shopping, ordinary life. After breakfast, while Cole cleaned up and the girls got ready for their activities, Reese stepped into the backyard. The morning sun was warm on her face. Birds sang in the trees. The world felt peaceful. Her phone buzzed. A message from Rachel, her sister. Saw the new article. You guys look happy. Really happy. Proud of you, sis. Reese smiled and typed back. Thank you for telling me to stop running. Best advice you ever gave me. She put her phone away and stood in the quiet backyard. She thought about that girl in the diner 5 years ago, terrified, protecting her secret, convinced she had to do everything alone. She wished she could go back and tell that girl, it's going to be okay. Better than okay. The thing you're most afraid of is going to become your greatest blessing. Let him in. Let people in. You're stronger than you think, but you don't have to be strong alone. Cole appeared in the doorway. You okay? Yeah, just thinking. About what? About how far we've come, how different everything is now. Cole walked over and slipped his arms around her waist. She leaned back against him. Do you miss it? He asked. The simplicity of before? Just you and the girls? Reese thought about it honestly. No. It wasn't simple. It was hard. I was so tired all the time. So scared. So alone. This is better. Messier, maybe. More complicated. But better. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Promise. You're stuck with me. For all the soccer games and art shows and homework battles and teenage years and everything that comes next. Sounds terrifying. Sounds perfect. They stood together in the morning sunlight. Inside, the girls were arguing about which shoes to wear. Normal. Ordinary. Beautiful. This was the life Reese had built. Not the one she'd planned. Not the one she'd imagined. But the one she'd chosen. Day by day. Choice by choice. One brave moment at a time. And it was enough. More than enough. It was everything. Dr. Phillips here, stepping out of the story for just a moment to talk directly to you. Because Reese and Cole's journey isn't just a story. It's a reminder of something we all need to hear. Your past doesn't define your future. Those mistakes you made, they don't disqualify you from love or happiness or second chances. That shame you carry, it only has power if you let it. Reese could have run. She could have let fear control her. She could have let Paige's threats and society's judgment convince her that she didn't deserve good things. But she didn't. She stood in the light. She told the truth. She let people in. And everything changed. If you're a single parent barely holding on, hear this. You're doing better than you think. Your children see your sacrifice, your strength, your love. And one day, they'll understand just how much you gave them. If you've made mistakes, if you have photos or moments from your past that haunt you, hear this. Everyone has a past. Everyone has made choices they wish they could change. What matters is who you are now, who you're becoming. Growth is real. Change is possible. Redemption is available to all of us. If you're afraid to let people in, if you've been hurt and built walls to protect yourself, hear this. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is lower those walls. Not for everyone, but for the right people. The ones who show up, the ones who stay, the ones who choose you even when it's hard. And if you've missed time with someone you love, if you carry regret for years you can't get back, hear this. You can't change the past, but you can change what you do today. Start now. Show up now. Choose them now. Every day is a new opportunity to build something better. Family isn't about perfection. It's not about having it all figured out from the beginning. It's about choosing each other, showing up, being consistent, building trust through actions, not just words. Success isn't measured in dollars or status or what the world thinks of you. Success is coming home to people who love you. It's your children running to meet you. It's sitting together in a blanket fort. It's ordinary moments made extraordinary by love. So, whatever you're facing today, whatever fear is holding you back, whatever shame is keeping you small, I want you to remember Reese standing in that ballroom, terrified, but walking forward anyway, choosing courage over comfort. truth over hiding, love over fear. You can do the same, in your own way, in your own time, with your own story. Because we all deserve second chances. We all deserve to be seen. We all deserve to build something beautiful from broken beginnings. That's what Love in Twilights is all about. Stories that remind us we're not alone, that our struggles matter, that our choices shape our futures, that love, in all its messy, complicated, beautiful forms, is always worth choosing. Thank you for watching this journey. Thank you for opening your heart to Reese and Cole and Harper and Piper. If their story touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Let it ripple out into the world. Because someone needs to hear that their past doesn't define them. Someone needs to know that second chances are real. Someone needs permission to be brave. Be that permission. Share this story. Subscribe to this channel. And come back next week for another story that will remind you what it means to be human. To struggle. To grow. To love. Until then, remember, family isn't about how it starts. It's about who shows up, who stays, who chooses you. Every single day. This is Dr. Phillips, reminding you that your story isn't over. The best chapters might still be unwritten, and courage looks like taking one step forward, even when you're terrified. Now go build something beautiful,